Today, we're drilling into the holding tanks of the RV to try to improve our system. I'm Jeff. Kathy is as far away from here as she can possibly get. And this is Miles and Smiles. This is the control center of the RV. It's where you can tell how much water there is in your waste tanks and in your propane tank. And it's pretty important to know. You can check your battery level. You can set the furnace and the air conditioner. And when the gray tank is full, it looks like this. But there's one problem. I'm going to go outside right now and empty the gray tank. Okay, I've just emptied the gray tank. And now, well, that's weird. How can it be both empty and full at the same time? The problem is that when your gray tank sensors aren't working and it always shows full, the only way to find out that your gray tank is full is when this happens. It's just shower water and sink water and washing machine water, but I don't care. This is still gross. There are a lot of different solutions that people recommend for this problem. One of them is to just clean the inside of the tank. Now, our black tank's not too hard to clean. It's actually got a cleaner built into it so that it kind of sprays the gunk off the sides of the tank. But our gray tank, well, it doesn't have anything like that, and there's no way to get a hose down there or do anything to clean the gunk off of the side of the tank. So I've gone ahead and purchased this. These are Horst Miracle Probes, and according to the reviews and the advertising, if I replace the manufacturer's tank sensor probes with these probes, I'm going to start getting more accurate readings. And the reason is because the tank probes get covered with slime and gunk, and it just builds up over time. These probes, which are Teflon coated and stick way out into the tank, are supposed to resist that. Let's see. This is where the problem is. And as I pointed out, over time, the insides of the tank gets covered with gunk. These are pretty hard to get out of here because of the style of sensor that Fleetwood has used on this 2004 Southwind. So I'm going to have to drill new holes beside these and put new sensors in. It should be a fairly easy task, but I've thought that about a lot of tasks before, so I can't tell you yet whether this is going to be a how-to or a how-not-to video, but I'm rolling up my sleeves and, well, let's see how it goes. The first thing I'm going to do is try to just simply unattach one of these screws where the wires connect to the old probes. If I can get those off and there's no entryway into the tank, no water is going to leak, that's going to make it pretty easy. Oh, by the way, yes, I have emptied the tank. Now, unfortunately, I can't hold the camera and do this at the same time, so in just a second, you'll see what happened. Okay, it looks like this does not go through into the tank. It's just a little socket that the wires connect to, and the way that it works is that the entire plug, see the two things on the side, comes out of the tank. So I'm going to try to reuse the same wires. But now it's time to drill a new hole. I've got to tell you, that's one of the scariest things I've done since I owned this RV. And the other thing I got to tell you is that even though it's a gray tank, you know, a lot of stuff goes in there, like, whatever goes down the kitchen sink, vegetable bits and all of that. And it does not smell very good here. So I'm going to try to move fast on this. The next step is to place one of the Horst Miracle Probes into the new hole and tighten it up. The way this is designed, this black area here is rubber, and the rubber is going to be pressing up against the side of the hole that I drilled. The white part's going to extend into the tank, and then the probe here is going to go even farther into the tank. The probe is conductive. When I screw in, or when I turn this bottom bolt, it will act like a molly screw, and it's going to expand the black rubber section until it fills and fits tightly in the hole. At least that's what they say. Okay, this is what I was afraid of. The black part of the probe here, when I started to tighten it down and it squeezes up like a molly screw, just pushed the probe right out of the tank instead of putting it in. It seems like the probe just spun around instead of sticking, so I got to figure out how to solve that problem. Okay, I've got the first probe installed. It still feels a little shaky to me. I think I'm gonna do some extra sealing around the edges because I'm not completely confident that this is going to hold on its own when there's a lot of pressure. But first, I'm going to go inside and see if it's sending a reading. No reading from the full probe. That's a good sign, I think. I've just finished drilling and installing the second probe, and this probe I did not tighten quite as much as I did the first one. It still feels like it's a good strong seal, and I'm wondering if maybe I over-tightened these. The problem is the instructions don't really give you any indication of how tight you're supposed to make them. So it's a little bit of trial and error here. Okay, 3 down, but now these last few probes are going to be a little bit more challenging because if you can see here, the drain pipe from the black tank runs right in front of where the probes go into the gray tank. And so that's going to make it a little bit hard to get the drill down in there. Depending on how hard it is, I might just leave the old probes in place on the shallow probes because I don't really mind if they're not working as well as the top probes will show me when it's getting actually full. But let's see how I do. Okay, so here's where we stand. I've got 5 of the 6 probes replaced. The deepest probe, the one down near empty, is just so far out of reach that I'm not convinced I can get a hole drilled there to get it properly installed, and right now I'm not willing to try. So I'm going to leave that one with the original probe for now, save the new Horst probe. If I need it, I'll try to figure out a way to get a drill bit down in there and to be able to drill a clean hole. But until then, it seems to me like that's the one that it doesn't matter if it reads that it's got material on it, that it's wet, because it's at the bottom of the tank. It will read empty. If the time ever comes that I decide to replace the black tank probes, that's going to be a much, much easier job because they're much more accessible. But for now, using the power washer that's built into the RV to keep the black tank probes clean seems to be doing the job. So let's hope that's the case. Well, it's a couple of months and a couple of thousand miles later, and I am happy to report that our Miracle Probes work. In fact, they worked so well in the gray tank that I went ahead and bought another set of probes and installed them in our black tank as well. And really, they're very, very good, and for so much less expensive than some of the other methods like the sea level, which you can read about in the blog at www.milesandsmiles.us. I've only had a couple of little problems. The black tank probes, once or twice, one of the probes misread, and I suspect it's because it got a little bit of toilet paper stuck on it. They come with a hood on them, so that it's to try to avoid that happening. But once or twice that happened, but once I had emptied the tank and given it a little bit of a rinse, that problem went away, and it's pretty minor considering. The other problem I had was keeping the electrical wires attached to the back of the probes. They just screw on with a little nut that you can see, the outer nut in this picture. And on a couple of the probes, because of the shaking and rattling of the RV, that nut came loose, or at least loosened a little bit, so I was getting intermittently no readings. So I went back under the RV, I tightened those up, and I put a little bit of nail polish on the threads, and that seems to have solved that problem. They're not loosening up anymore. One tip. If you want to put probes on both your black tank and your gray tank, the first thing you need to do, actually the first thing you need to do in either case, is find the tanks, find where the probes are located. In our case, I had to take a little shield off underneath the RV to expose that. And count how many probes your tanks have.
Miracle Probes come in packs of 4. We needed 6 per tank in our case. I was able to get the manufacturer to sell me a packet of 6, but that's no longer possible. So what I would suggest you do is get 8 black tank probes and 4 gray tank probes if you're in the same situation that we were, because the black tank probes will work in the gray tank. And then you can use 6 black tank probes in the black tank, and you can use 4 gray tank and 2 black tank probes in your gray tank, and you'll be all set. It goes in as easy as can be. If you would like to find out more details of the entire process of choosing and installing these probes, again, go to our blog at www.milesandsmiles.us. Miles and Smiles is all printed out. I've got pictures, I've got explanations, I've got links, everything is in the blog, and the links to buy Miracle Probes, if you want to, can be found right under here. And since I'm pointing this way, can I ask you to subscribe by pushing the little subscribe button in the lower right corner of the screen if you like these videos. Give us a thumbs up. Every time someone subscribes, writes a comment, or gives us a thumb up on YouTube, it makes YouTube bump us one step higher in the search results when someone is searching for one of the subjects of our videos. So it's a really big help to us when you give us that interaction with the video. Remember, life's a journey. Make every mile count.